Yes, hello
Great.
everybody. Good afternoon. I am very sorry for the inconvenience. You know, the moderator is the one missing. Excuse me for that. I had a Wi-Fi issue. Maybe it's the heat wave we are going through here in France, where I am right now. Apologies.
Thank you. Well, so we have now introduced the Wordly application. It's in the chat. And I think we can now go to the agenda if you would like to introduce yourself and give an overview of our conversation today.
Yes. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining today to this webinar about energy as a vehicle for equity and urban resilience in sub-Saharan Africa. My name is Mariana Castaño Cano. I am a journalist and climate communications expert, founder and CEO of 10 Billion Solutions, and I collaborate with REN21, Renewable Energy for the 21st Century. Since a long time ago, it's my absolute pleasure to be joining you today for this event where we will hear from voices from South Africa, Ethiopia, Kenya, Namibia, and from many more, hopefully, from the audience. So from now on, I invite you, everyone, to please go into the chat and drop your name, what is it that you do, and where you are joining from. Just say a quick hello to everyone. I want to thank Meagen and Idan for the tireless work in preparing this webinar and to all the speakers. So very briefly, now I'm going to introduce the event. Let me quickly call up the agenda on the screen. I think that we already saw more or less the agenda. So we will have some presentations. Mayor Phukuntsi from Tswelopele. We will have also some introduction about the work that the Global Covenant of Mayors is doing. We will have also an excellent presentation case study from Seleshi Bekele from Ethiopia, and then we will get into panel discussions and the most engaging part, the open question and answers. But you can from now on drop in the question in the chat, please, your questions, and then we will open the floor uh, using the raise hand button for questions from the audience. Also, everybody from non-English language speaking countries are welcome to ask questions. Please, in French and Portuguese, maximum on the chat. Because we have capacity in those languages, but in the app you have a capacity in many other languages. So very briefly, now I would like to walk you through some facts and figures about the importance of renewable energy and how the world stands at a crossroads. We know how citizens are the most impacted with this energy crisis, the worst energy crisis since the 70s. We are going through, unfortunately, high skyrocketing prices of the energy, and those cities and countries, regions dependent on fossil fuels are suffering the most, and among them, the global south is particularly suffering the energy crisis. If I may ask, okay, thank you very much. So in renewable REN21, the perspective is about systemic change. Okay, it's not just about energy replacement. It needs or energy matrix replacement. It needs to go deeper. We need to change systems and have systems that are powered by clean, sustainable, affordable energy so that we can tackle fuel volatility and vulnerability, accelerate environmental recuperation, and drive equality, and of course to have infrastructure that it is not only clean but that is resilient as well to climate impacts, among others. Next slide, please. So renewables energy are a global necessity. We know how, because we've seen it in many countries and in many regions. Renewable energy reduces vulnerability, enables inclusive economic development and clean industrialization with all the jobs and prosperity that it comes with it. It strengthens resilience in the face of global shocks like the one we are currently facing. It expands access to reliable, affordable energy, and it drives innovation, creates jobs, and encourages competitiveness. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, as I said at the beginning, we need systemic, deep, sustained changes because the barriers for a clean energy future are systemic. So our energy and economic systems have been built around fossil fuels, and we need to bring down the barriers that are preventing us from going beyond that fossil fuels powered energy systems. And we need new energy systems to benefit everyone. And we need leaders that prioritize growth and security, and leaders that see in renewables the promise of that present and future, that it is inclusive and that it is resilient. Next slide, please. I'm not going to dive deeper. I invite you to visit REN21 website and you will know everything about the foundations for a renewable-based economy. But basically on this slide, you see the principles about this systemic change that we are advocating for. Next slide, please. A few facts. 70% of the CO2 emissions are produced in cities or in urban areas. 75% of the global energy used is in urban areas. We see rapid urbanization is the trend, unstoppable trend. So we have an energy demand that is rapidly growing. And the solution, as we said, it's not just technical. It needs to be more profound. It needs to be systemic. It starts with policy, with finance, with behavioral change, with industrial clean industrialization, and local governance, to bring it to the topic today, is central to building the renewable-based economy. So next slide, please. Because cities are at the center of the solutions. And just as I said before, visit ren21.net and you will learn more about the principles for a renewable-based economy. And without further ado, please, next slide. Yes, now I'm happy to give the floor to Idan from GCoM, who's going to walk us through some more interesting information. Please, Idan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mariana, for introducing us. My name is Idan Sasson. I am focused on energy policy and research at the Global Covenant of Mayors. I am based in New York City, but I've just come back from Nairobi from our Innovate for Cities conference, and am incredibly inspired by the work that is happening both in East Africa, but also in sub-Saharan Africa, the work that cities, that leaders, that entrepreneurs are doing in the energy transition and in really expanding access to sustainable energy. And so I'm not going to say too much about the Global Covenant of Mayors. I'd hope that most people are familiar, but we are essentially the largest network of networks of cities that are committed to action on climate and energy. So we have over 14,000 committed cities and local governments around the world. That covers over 1 billion people around the world, or more than an eighth of the global population. So this is really focused on scale. And the emissions abatement and the climate aspects of this are enormous, the equivalent of over 1.5 million cars off the road, and just CO2 emissions being reduced. And so, our focus is on climate, on energy, on cities, and there's a range of different work that we do, but I will focus a bit more on energy today. And so if we go to the next slide, as Mariana, we can actually go to the next slide. As Mariana said so eloquently, this is truly a historic energy crisis that is being felt across the board in wealthy cities, in low-income cities, in rural areas. It is affecting people the world over. And so the focus that we have at the Global Covenant of Mayors and the work that we do with our partners and the work that we do to support our cities is focused not just on sustainability, as important as that is, but also on the social and economic dimensions of energy security, energy affordability. And so that is really important in the face of crisis to focus on this three-legged stool. And to be secure, that means it needs to be available, it needs to be sufficient. It's about also the quality of energy. If you have access to 2 hours of energy, that is not really sufficient for full social and economic development. This is something that needs to be affordable. And this, again, has impacted both low-income, high-income cities across the board. And we are looking towards a sustainable, renewable energy transition, cleaner energy, energy that is efficient, and has a host of co-benefits within that. And so moving forward, here. So some of the work that we do that for those that work directly on reporting and data for their cities is to really track the progress on this. We firmly believe that in order to manage climate and energy goals and targets and vulnerabilities, you really need to measure. And so we've created a range of different indicators with our partners, with our regional covenants, of which the Covenant of Mayors of Sub-Saharan Africa is a core partner. And we look to track different energy poverty and sustainability indicators. And with that, we provide badging to different cities and signatories, and then look to really support them and how can they advance and implement their climate targets, their plans, their energy poverty solutions. And so get a sense of how many cities engage with this area of work. We have over 1,700 cities that report according to these actions. A number of those cities in Sub-Saharan Africa that have really gone above and beyond in not just assessing and creating targets, but also creating plans to move this work forward. And so for those that, again, are responsible for reporting and data to COMSA or to the Global Covenant of Mayors, this is a fundamental year on energy access and poverty, as it is now mandatory for full compliance with GCoM badging. And then just moving to the last slide here, just to give a sense, because a lot of this can be abstract when we're talking about secure energy or sustainable or affordable energy. We have very specific indicators that can help manage progress on this. How many, within a municipality have access to electricity? What is the average duration? What is the energy consumption per capita? And then how can those really be increased? What is the installed capacity of renewable within a local jurisdiction? What percentage of households have access to clean cooking fuels? And so we look to put forward indicators that can really be actionable for cities as they're looking to move forward on this area of work. And it would be great to hear, following the conversation, during the conversation, to what extent, data and reporting and getting a status of, where things stand in your city, in your local government, have helped you move some of these projects forward. And so just wanted to briefly present on the Global Covenant of Mayors, our partnership with REN21 and with the Covenant of Mayors of Sub-Saharan Africa. And now, Mariana, back over to you to hear from these incredible speakers.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Idan, and thank you to all the GCoM teams. And now we are going to get into the heart of the subject and hear from the ground. So our first guest is Mayor of Tswelopele, and my apologies for mispronouncing eventually family names or places. But the former mayor of Tswelopele, Councillor Kenalemang Phukuntsi, is with us today, and is going to give us opening remarks highlighting the critical role of local governments in advancing renewable energy access, energy deployment, and a just energy transition. Please, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you so much, Program Director, representative of the Global Covenant of Mayors, COMSA, REN21, fellow mayors, councillors, municipal officials, development partners, and colleagues across the continent. Good afternoon. It is an honor to join this important conversation on energy as a vehicle for equity and urban resilience. For municipalities in South Africa and indeed across sub-Saharan Africa, energy is no longer only a technical matter. It is a question of dignity, service delivery, economic inclusion, climate resilience, and the ability for local government to fulfill its developmental mandate. South African local municipalities sit at the coalface of the energy challenges. Our communities experience unreliable supply, rising electricity costs, aging distribution infrastructure, illegal connections, non-payment, and the growing pressure of informal settlement expansion. At the same time, municipalities are expected to keep streetlights on, power clinics, school water, pumps, small business and households, while also protecting the poorest residents from the unaffordable tariffs. The crisis is therefore not simply about electricity supply. It is about the sustainability of the entire municipal system. Many municipalities depend on electricity revenue to fund basic services, yet that revenue base is under pressure as wealthier households and business move to alternative energy solutions, while poorer households remain dependent on the grid and often carry a disproportionate burden. This creates a real risk that energy transition, if cannot really managed, could deepen inequality instead of reducing it. For local municipalities, especially smaller and rural municipalities as mine, the challenge is even sharper. We face constrained budget, limited technical capacity, maintenance backlog, and difficulties in accessing climate finance. Yet our communities are the very places where energy poverty is most visible and where renewable energy solutions can have the greatest social impact. This is why we must place equity at the center of the energy transition. Renewable energy must not only serve industrial users, shopping centers, or those who can afford rooftop solars. It must also reach informal settlement, low-income households, municipal facilities, local enterprises, public lighting, community halls, and water and sanitation infrastructure. If we get this right, renewable energy can help municipalities reduce poverty, improve safety, strengthen local economies, and build resilience against climate shocks. But municipalities cannot do this alone. We need a stronger compact between national government, provincial government, local government regulators, developmental finance, institutions, the private sector, and communities. Municipalities require clearer mandates, fairer funding mechanisms, practical technical support, and simplified access to climate and infrastructure finance. We also need investment in municipal grids, smart metering, energy data, project preparation, and local skills development. Program Director, energy planning must also be integrated into spatial planning and municipal infrastructure planning. We cannot continue to plan settlement, housing, transport, water system, and economic zone without asking how they will be powered and who will benefit. A resilient city or a town is one where energy access is planned from the beginning, not added as an afterthought. As local government, we are ready to be part of the solution. Can support renewable energy deployment, improve energy efficiency and municipal operations, identify vulnerable communities, create enabling bylaws, facilitate partnership, and champion local economic opportunities linked to the green economy. However, this must be accompanied by resources, capacity, and policy alignment that recognize the realities of municipalities on the ground. I just want to share with the webinar the things that we are doing in Tswelopele. In Tswelopele, we are implementing an energy efficiency and demand-side management programs, which is helping us improve the efficiency of municipal energy use while strengthening service delivery. Through this program, we are rolling out energy-saving initiatives that are reducing electricity losses, lowering municipal operating costs, and improving revenue collections. We are also investing in more efficient public infrastructure, including procurement of LED post-top, street lighting, which reduces electricity consumption while improving public spaces. Alongside this, we have reduced electricity losses through practical measures such as meter audits, the deployment of smart meters, replacing aging infrastructure, and addressing electricity tampering, demonstrating that municipalities can make meaningful progress through effective local actions. We have an opportunity before us. In closing, the just energy transition must be judged not only by megawatts added to the system, but by whether it improves the lives of ordinary people. Does it reduce energy poverty? Does it make electricity more affordable? Does it protect municipal finances? Does it create local jobs? Does it strengthen the ability of municipality to deliver services? If our answer is yes, then energy will truly become a vehicle for equity and urban resilience. Let us therefore use this dialogue to move from ambition to implementation and from commitments to practical municipal solutions that leave no community behind. Those are the opening remarks, but I want to plead with everyone to say our today's discussions must move beyond recognizing the challenges and focus on practical solutions that place people at the center of Africa's energy transition. By working together across all levels of government, with development partners, financial institutions, the private sector, and our communities, we can ensure that renewable energy becomes a driver of equity, resilience, and sustainable development. I look forward to today's dialogue and to learn from the experiences and perspectives that will be shared. I thank you so much, Program Director. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Phukuntsi. That was very inspiring. As you said, it's not only an energy issue, it's a full across business sustainability issue for the local governments and the way municipalities are run. And now we are going to change geography. And it's my absolute pleasure now to introduce you all to Dr. Seleshi Bekele. Dr. Seleshi Bekele is a renewable energy champion, a new initiative from REN21. He is the former National Minister of Energy, Water and Infrastructure of Ethiopia, and is going to present us a very, very inspiring case study. So, Dr. Bekele, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mariana, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a little bit hot also here where I am. It's a pleasure to join this important dialogue on behalf of REN21, where I serve as energy champion and RECI Africa champion, which means Renewable Energy Champion Initiative. This is working to accelerate renewable energy transition across the continent. Throughout my career, I have learned a simple lesson. I was an academician, as a professor in the university, researcher at International Water Management Institute, at UNECA, at UNDESA, as a minister and ambassador of Ethiopia to the US. So my lesson is energy. As I have been teaching hydropower dams, etc., energy shouldn't be seen as simply an infrastructure sector. Energy is the foundation of everything upon which all development could be built. Whether you call it water security, food systems, health service, education, digital connectivity in this era, economic opportunity, and obviously climate resilience all depend on energy. So renewables are the power generated from natural resources, sunlight like wind. In fact, sun is the ultimate source of all energy, as you know, to evaporate water from the ocean and bring it to the river system and generate hydropower. Wind itself is activities of the sun energy. We can generate renewable from water, and also Earth's heat that comes in the form of geothermal. So these resources replenish annually because the sun continues to give light, give energy, and all parameters come in renewed form year on year. So if Africa succeeds in transforming its energy systems, we have to transform our cities. If we fail, urban inequality will deepen as our cities continue to grow. So Ethiopia has been doing a lot around renewable energy. As some of you may know, our renewable energy grid system is 100% renewable now. But it doesn't mean all people of Ethiopia have access to electricity. So that is where the big gap is. So trying to talk about Jijiga. Jijiga town is not simply another Ethiopian city. It represents the future of hundreds of African secondary cities. It is one of the regional capital, the Somali region of Ethiopia. It's in eastern corridor. It has approximately 720,000 residents, which is making it one of the fastest growing urban city. Over the last few years, it has grown by 16-fold. So in less than 3 decades. So that is very rapid growth. This rapid population growth in the city brings enormous pressure. Like urban expansion means a lot of pressure on land resource, water resource, and the infrastructure. Increasing displacement, you observe chronic water scarcity because it is in the drought-prone area. Inadequate electricity because grid system reaching there is not providing a large amount of electricity because of the rapid growth of the city. Overstretched public services are observable, unemployment, climate vulnerability, all these are compounded. So indeed, only 55% of households have electricity. But somehow the people survive because either they do illegal connection to their neighbors or use just small provisions like solar batteries, solar home provisions, etc. Frequent outage forces reliance on diesel generators and charcoal. So especially for cooking, people, almost 90% of them use charcoal or wood, firewood. Around 68% report regular access to clean water. As I've said, since 1990, it has grown quite rapidly by 16-fold. So generally then, this kind of pressure and rapid growth, etc., is not only Jijiga's story. It's a story of most of urban Africa. But when you take the entire Ethiopia, Ethiopian urbanization rate is around 24%. Africa sub-Saharan average is around 33%. We are not that much urbanized, but still in rapidly growing cities like Jijiga, we have a lot of pressure. However, we can look at the opportunity rather than really talking about the problem only. So cities like Jijiga do not have to follow yesterday's development pathways. That means we can, in most of African cities, we can leapfrog. Renewable, therefore, allows these kind of cities to build systems that are cleaner, more resilient, more affordable, more inclusive. So instead of waiting until the grid expansion, the grid densification, additional transmission line, substation construction, and distribution system construction, central grids may not offer adequate solution in the next 10 years, 15 years. So what should we do practically? Cities like Jijiga can deploy distributed solar. In all the surrounding, you see a huge swath of land, mostly barren land. It's possible to install even utility scale solar system, like forming mini grids or rooftop photovoltaics with battery storage could serve or take us a long distance. Why I'm saying a little bit about 300 kilometers away from Jijiga towards the Somali border, there is a city called Qorahele. Some 7 years ago, we installed off-grid solution in a place where about 3,000-4,000 people were living. But the moment that the off-grid solution of 1 megawatt was installed, the town became, a magnet to pull the surrounding villagers only to access electricity, but because of electricity, other facilities are provided, like milling plants, oil pressing, etc., better education, better health facilities, etc. In addition to this, solar related, we can also look into clean cooking. We can relate this to efficient public services as a result of presence of electricity. And in this digital era, we have to leapfrog. Digital energy management should also benefit from the solar energy. So in Jijiga, mostly previously it was largely supported by diesel. Still, the diesel in the cities are there for interruption, as well as also where the grid hasn't reached. But we shouldn't see that merely diesel replacement. It is a real engine for economic inclusion, urban competitiveness, local jobs, climate resilience, and social equity. So that's why this webinar is timely. Thanks to the concept note, it also rightly frames renewable energy as a practical tool for reducing poverty while improving urban resilience through integrated planning and local action. So I would recommend 3 actions. First, integrating energy into urban planning. City mayors often may not look at the energy aspect into the city planning. Mostly they focus around housing, transport or road, and etc., water systems. Energy is mostly given to the utilities. But as we can see recently, when urban or cities are empowered, they can really influence where the distribution network could be provided, additional substations that are needed, and then in the planning, where the city would be expanding with modern houses, modern transport facility, etc. If this is combined with the energy system planning, it will help a lot. Of course, cities also connected to industrial areas, health facilities, schools. So spatial planning, therefore, must include energy planning. So that is the first one. The second one is empower cities to lead. Obviously, as I said a little bit, national governments remain essential, but cities understand local realities better than anyone. Independent cities, self-governing cities prosper quite rapidly. For example, Dredawa, just neighbor to Jijiga and Addis Ababa, are self-governing, like regional level cities. They are rapidly growing. The others are getting their budget and their planning, etc., influenced by the provincial or regional governments. So municipal governments, they would prosper when they have their own planning authority, technical capacity, access to finance, manage their own revenue, better data, and stronger partnership when they are allowed to build partnership with others. So local governments should become implementation leaders rather than passive beneficiaries. The third one I put is equity at the center. The success of energy transition should not be measured only by megawatt installed or megawatt supplied into the city or generated out of the city. It should be measured by, what kind of gains in productive livelihood, especially that includes women. In the city like Jijiga, how refugees and displaced communities accessing service. Young entrepreneurs also, how are they creating a business because of the access to energy? Informal settlement receiving reliable electricity, school and health centers, etc., should have adequate supply without interruption. That is possible when utilities and cities plan together. City itself put energy planning, or which is in African context mostly should be coming from renewable energy as the center of their planning. So that is then what we call leads to just transition. So these are the few things I could say, but I should mention also the link to Ethiopia and COP32. Ethiopia is preparing COP32. Things are moving now as Africa has an opportunity to redefine the global conversation. It's not only under the item of UNFCCC under climate change, but also energy should stand on its own. Even under UNFCCC should have very strong voice and what should be done around energy development, energy access. So the Africa COP should be for implementation, not just following the usual conferences. Cities like Jijiga, therefore, can become living laboratories for this new model of development if we could provide it focus. Definitely, African cities are also already delivering integrated solutions that connects renewable, resilience, inclusive growth, sustainable urban development, etc. So, having said it, let me conclude with this. Africa energy transition will not be won only in national capitals. It will be won in cities like Jijiga. Secondary cities where population are growing rapidly, where climate impacts are already being felt, where renewable energy can immediately improve people's life. If we invest wisely, these cities can become engine of resilience, prosperity, and equity. And if we succeed there, we'll succeed across Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bekele. I think that you touch so many angles, but I take away the three pillars of the renewable-based economy transformation in Africa, which should be embed renewables in your urban planning, empower cities to lead, give them the policy frameworks, the finance, the capacity, the technology to lead this transformation. And third, and not the last, put people at the center, citizens, businesses, schools, health centers. So as you say, cities are not labs for the future. It is where future is starting to show how much it can give to the people, to the businesses. And now I have a question for the audience. We wanted to bring in the participation from the very beginning before we give the floor to the panelists for the moderated discussions. I want to send a question which is not easy, and probably there is no one single right answer. But in the conversation, we will start to see the barriers, the blockers, and then what are the enablers to make this transformation happen. So we heard the situation in Ethiopia, 100% of the matrix is renewables, but still so many people lack clean energy for electricity at home, for cooking. So hundreds of millions of urban Africans still are lacking reliable, clean energy at home and in their businesses or schools or hospitals. And most of them live in cities like yours. The national grids are changing, but they are not reaching the people fast enough. And renewables could, in the off-grid, for example, we have many solutions, but why aren't local governments leading yet in this solution? So is it a question of mandate, the political framework? It is a question of finance. They don't have the money. Is it a question of political lead in the government at each given time? Is it a behavioral change what we need, or a mix of all of them? So I would like to see hands up in the audience and the chat for those who cannot open their mic. So I would like to give the floor to maybe one or two of our participants. I don't see any hands up, but please raise your hand if you want to participate. The colleagues in the audience, colleagues in GCoM, if you see hands that I don't see. Okay. Maybe if you are shy, because I know that it is difficult to break the ice, you can put your suggestion or your answer, your idea, your example in the chat. If not,
I
we
see we
move.
have a hand
Yeah.
now,
Okay.
Mariana.
Wonderful. I don't see whose hand it is because there are many pages
See,
of people.
Stephen Davis has raised his hand.
Okay, please, Stephen, go ahead.
Sure. Thanks for the great question, Mariana and Idan. Yeah, as you use, I think you've sort of answered the question partly in the question, because it really is, a combination of all the things you mentioned, mandate, the resources or money, political will. I would add another one and say capacity. Dr. Seleshi Bekele mentioned, the need for integrating energy planning into urban planning. I think that's all very well, but one needs the sort of skills and abilities to do that, and the manpower and the person power to do that. Linked to that, I think that also, the traditional era of energy planning being this sort of centralized, one utility style planning is no longer sort of fit for purpose. It was never fit for purpose because it hasn't sort of produced, the universal energy access that we require. So I think one also needs to realize that we need to think about energy planning in a more sort of decentralized way, with cities really at the forefront. But that won't just happen by itself. It does need all of those things that you've mentioned in your question. The other thing that, of course, we need to keep in mind, it's not only providing a connection to a grid, but the electricity that one purchases from that grid needs to be affordable, that needs to be sort of factored in. And obviously we know that, thankfully renewables are the cheapest way of doing it. So it makes it more likely that energy provided from decentralized renewables in cities is probably going to get us there. But yeah, it would be good to sort of, if anyone else has examples of where this has happened. I mean, I know we've at C40 we've got some examples of how microgrids have made an impact in informal settlements where there's no grid access. But it'd be good to hear other examples from other geographies of how this has been overcome, not just to sort of keep talking about why we haven't seen any progress and what all the barriers and blockages are. But yeah, and just thanks to everyone who's organized this session. It's really great.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And I have in the past, those who have been in events with me, they know that in the question and answers time, I sometimes find voluntol in the audience, meaning I pick one or two people to direct the questions to them. In this case, I see that in the audience we have a mayor from Oti in Togo. So je voudrais peut-être just bear with me 30 seconds. Je vais changer en français pendant 15 secondes et inviter Monsieur Nimani Nukume, who's le maire de la commune de Loti. Monsieur le maire, si vous êtes en ligne encore, parce que j'ai vu votre commentaire sur les sites, si vous êtes en ligne et vous voulez intervenir en français, vous pouvez le faire. Je vois pas, I don't see any hands up, but I know that the mayor is connected, or maybe he can put some ideas in the chat as well. But if Idan, Meagen, if we don't have any more hands up, maybe we can, okay, we can go on. Wonderful. So now I would like to kindly ask our panelists to keep their cameras open, because I'm going to introduce you to our panelists. We have the chance to still have with us Mayor Phukuntsi. Thank you for staying with us for this round. We have Mr. Felix Akello, who's the specialist of environment and energy in Kisumu County in Kenya. We have Dr. Manuel de Araujo, who's mayor of Quelimane in Mozambique. And we have Councillor Johannes Shibilinga, Mayor of Walvis Bay in Namibia. And of course, we also have Dr. Bekele, who stays with us in this panel discussion. And I would like to start with the access gap. So we know what we need to do to get there, but there is a gap, okay? There is no enough infrastructure, there is no enough money, capacity, etc. So who is responsible? Where do we put the blame? We know that there is no one single person who bears all the responsibility, but we need to identify blockers so that we can identify enablers. So hundreds of millions still are lacking electricity and energy in general across Africa. There are national targets, there are subnational plans, but the stars are not aligning, okay? The ambition, starting with the Paris Agreement, the nationally determined contributions, the subnational plans, are not aligning with the budget and the capacity, the technology available. So I would like to ask all of you, our panelists, from your different perspective, wherever you come from in the sense of your expertise or the circumscription that you are leading, where do you see the biggest blockage? What will it take from your side and that of your counterparts at other levels to remove those blockages so we can accelerate the energy transition? So I would like to start with Felix Akello, Environment and Energy Specialist. Hi, Felix. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mariana. Thank you. I know we are having a team here of a lot of mayors and also stakeholders and partners. So what I could say, I would speak for the case of which of course Kenya and Africa. I'm saying this because I converse in both local, national, regional, and global spaces in terms of energy and environment. Things to do with, of course, energy transition being just. Advocate for climate action and the nexus between now energy, environment, and climate. So you're saying what happens is that we have global plans that are very clear. We have regional plans that are very clear. We have national plans that are clear. Then what happens is we set targets, but the challenge becomes now planning on how to achieve the targets based on data and actions. I think that's the biggest gap that is always there, because most times at let's say the NDC commitments, they're normally wishful thinking in terms of what governments want to do. But then you have to have a leader at local and national level that is very much focused on delivering the commitments. Because for the sake of Kisumu, for instance, we have the roadmap towards 100% renewable energy transition by 2050. And I'm here championing that because now if you have a plan and you're not focused on delivering the plan, then you can't talk about energy access, electricity. Because now, again, depending on the infrastructure planning in the country, because the subnationals might want good or universal access to electricity, both the grid tier and off-grid. Problem becomes when you can't invest on infrastructure because it's normally not a cheap affair. Like for Kisumu, when you wanted to do street lighting, we realized that attaching street lights to the national infrastructure from Kenya Power and Lighting Company made it cheaper and affordable than installing our own street infrastructure where applicable. Of course, areas that don't have the national grid, you have to set up decentralized like street lighting units. We were talking about the same issue in terms of resource mapping because if you don't resource map your resources well, then you can't really provide energy access the correct way. I know what happens is in the most cases is the data that is being used to implement and track progress is normally disjointed. So a key thing would be how to have data that is current, updated. You talked about reporting here earlier on from the comms side, and that is a real issue because you can do a lot of work. Then if you're not reporting, then you can't know what is yet to be done or where you need to focus. The other angle will have been that the use of tools and AI plan sets or equipment that is able to reduce the cost of assessment because assessing energy needs within nationals or counties is normally a problem, especially for Kenya. I don't know what happens in other subnationals. So you want to set up a budget, but you can't set up a budget to implement a project without having data that backs that because budgets are normally provided based on needs, and needs are in subnational scale are based on plans that can be linked to the impact of the number of people that are supposed to be helped. So that is where the gap is. If you have data, then you can plan and report perfectly. Of course, you have to have the right individuals who are keen in advancing renewable energy, especially for electrification. The last thing, tracking progress is another key thing because projects are done. Let's say today Kisumu has the roadmap, which we launched in 2024. We started developing that in 2021. But then if you have a roadmap and you have not planned on how to deliver it, then you can't know how to track where you are and it becomes a little bit difficult. So the issue should be we make good plans and intentionally work to implement them. The last thing is on the global scale, we have fragmented levels of cooperation. Most stakeholders have been working with, especially the sub-Saharan Africa countries, or let's say the Africa for that matter. You're having a team that is willing to commit. You're having a team that is willing to, let's say, collaborate. We're having a team that is willing to maybe to cooperate. But then it's rarely happened that you have one stakeholder that is handling all the issues you have. Because if you talk about energy access, you might find comps are willing to commit to support us to do assessment. But then now cooperation, if you want them to do ABCD, I'm not saying you don't do that. I'm using as an example so that it becomes practical. I know Kisumu is a member of the COMSA, and of course, even GCoM, I think, and a number of all these institutions, Bekele, I think, were a member of Bekele also. So what I'm saying is we need to have a holistic approach towards supporting or figuring issues around subnational so that if you come to us, we don't develop a policy, then we don't know how to implement because maybe we have capacity gaps, financial gaps is a real issue that really needs to be looked in terms of linking finances, and that is what we talk about that, linking finance to particular human beings or the population that is affected, so that you can know how much you are improving in terms of now energy access in the subnational space. I just wanted to report that also a steering committee member for the Global Alliance for Building and Construction, and that's the same thing. I'm sitting on the subnational board. It's the same story. You want to do housing like you mentioned, but then how do you take stock of the housing or the decarbonation, the levels, the gaps that are there? So it becomes difficult because you don't have data on housing in subnationals, cooking, the same thing, clean cooking, and no mobility. Again, if you want data on the number of EVs or automobiles in the country, the ICE engines, it becomes difficult. And now I'm working a lot of cities because I know also most of you might be working with the connective cities, I think. I'm also a steering committee member. Then also the issue of heat because again, heat you can't implement without really direct impact. I'm saying this because these are real gaps, data assessment and measurement to inform budgeting and also forecast implementation of projects.
Yeah, thank you very much, Felix. I think that you touched critical points there: finance, data, access to digital technologies. Now I'm going to move to the mayor of Quelimane in Mozambique. So Dr. Manuel de Araujo, please. What are the main blockers from your experience? Manuel de Araujo, please. The floor is yours. Yes, I see. Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah.
Can you open your camera? Maybe?
Camera. Oh, yes, yes.
That would be wonderful so that we can see you. But we can hear you. You can start speaking.
Well, I don't know why, but the camera is not showing.
It's very fine. We see a photo of you, so please go ahead.
Oh,
What are the
okay.
main blockades?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. First of all, allow me to thank you for inviting me to participate in this very important webinar on renewable energy as a vehicle for equity and urban resilience in sub-Saharan Africa. Actually, I was very happy to listen what my predecessors mentioned. And actually, I wanted really to concentrate on the access gap, as you put it, who is responsible. First of all, I wanted to say that we are all responsible, be it the local government, be it the regional government, but also the national institutions, because we see energy access as a responsibility to all levels of government, and therefore no single level of government can solve it alone. So we need a multi-level approach. It's key also that various tiers of government partners are needed really to unlock the true potential of sustainable energy resources. National governments, normally, they do establish policy, but also they establish regulatory framework. But in reality, it's cities and local governments who understand the local realities and the implementation needs. And therefore, the biggest challenge is often the disconnect between national energy planning and local development planning or city development planning. That disconnect also has got financial implications. For example, when local priorities are not integrated into the national planning, normally municipalities struggle to access the funding needed to implement renewable energy projects. Therefore, it's our understanding that cities need to be recognized as energy project implementation partners, not simply, as happens quite often, being seen as simply beneficiaries. Stronger multi-level governance and the continuous dialogue between national and local governments are therefore essential if we want to achieve both energy access and climate goals. And I think that we, as sponsor cities in Africa, we know that government cannot deliver national climate and energy commitment unless local governments are formally included, not only in the planning, but also in the implementation and in the decision-making process. I think that the participation of local government and cities in the planning, in the implementation, in the monitoring, and in the decision-making is of paramount importance. If we want to look on the financial side of the equation, we must recognize that most of the times, actually, cities have projects ready for implementation, but more often they do lack direct access to finance. Indeed, finance mechanisms remain too complex for many municipalities, particularly intermediary or secondary cities. So here we are arguing for direct access for funding from local government. Also, we need to strengthen the capacity of cities in the project preparation phase. Cities need support to prepare investment-ready renewable energy projects and also access to innovative financing mechanisms. We also think that we need that financing, we need the kind of financing that reaches the local level more directly, and they are designed to respond to the needs and the priorities of local institutions. National governments, development banks, and climate funds should, in our view, create clearer pathways for cities to access funding. We are also of the view that investment in renewable energy should be viewed as investment in economic development, as also an investment in resilience and improved public services. As regional mayors, as members of the COMSA Regional Mayors Forum, we have been consistently advocating for the need for climate finance to move beyond commitments and really reach cities where, as we all know, implementation actually happens. We also believe that the success of the energy transition should be measured by whether it improves the lives of the most vulnerable or not. Renewable energy investment should prioritize informal settlements, undeserved neighborhoods, and low-income households. And we also think that community engagement is essential and that solutions should be designed with residents rather than for them. Decentralized renewable energy solutions can improve access while at the same time strengthening resilience. Energy projects should also aiming at creating local jobs, strengthen skill development, and also create economic opportunities for all. And in our view, a just transition means ensuring that those who are currently have the least access to energy become the first beneficiaries of clean energy solutions. On the question if we are building the right cities, we are of the view that energy planning cannot happen separately from urban planning. We understand that land use, housing, transport, and infrastructure decisions all influence future energy demand. And cities need integrated planning that considers climate resilience, renewable energy, and urban growth altogether. And that better coordination of policies and regulations across national, provincial, and local governments is essential to ensure cities can effectively implement energy initiative. Planning, we view, should anticipate future growth rather than responding after settlement have already expanded, as is today happening in most of the countries, it's at least in the global south. Integrated planning should also have resilience as a foundation, specifically for climate vulnerable cities, because we are of the view that the cities are where the impacts of climate change are felt the hardest. COMSA signatory cities are not simply implementing national policy, they are shaping the future energy system through the way urban development is planned today. Therefore, just as a concluding remarks, we are of the view that Africa's energy transition will only succeed if it's locally led. Cities know where the needs are, communities know which solutions work, and national and international partners, of course, can help to unlock the finance and enabling environment. Together, we can ensure that renewable energy is not only about reducing emissions, but also about reducing inequality, strengthening resilience, enhancing energy security, and last but not least, improving the lives of our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor de Araujo, for this holistic answer to this big challenge. How do we include cities in this multi-level governance? How can cities directly tap into finance at the national and the multilateral development banks, international banks level, and how we put citizens and especially the low-income households and the informal settlements citizens at the center of the priority projects for renewable energy. Thank you very much. I would like now to move to Togo. Je vais très brièvement parler en français pour inviter Monsieur le maire de la commune de Oti au Togo, Monsieur Nukome, à nous parler très brièvement, Monsieur, parce que je dois traduire. Donc, s'il vous plaît, une idée et je traduirai. Please, the floor is yours. Ou si vous voulez parler en français, si vous êtes à l'aise en français, je vous donne la parole en français, quand vous voulez.
Merci beaucoup. Et Monsieur le maire vient de se déplacer pour un instant. C'est son représentant qui est en ligne. Alors, il faut dire que nous voulons tout d'abord vous remercier et pour nous avoir associés à ce webinaire qui porte sur la problématique de l'accès des populations aux sources d'énergie. Il faut dire que les sources d'énergie sont des conditions nécessaires pour promouvoir le développement, aussi bien le développement économique que, et le bien-être des populations. Et pour ce qui nous concerne, il faut dire que la population a accès à l'énergie par deux voies. Il y a l'accès à l'énergie classique à travers les réseaux électriques en milieu urbain et l'autre option, c'est l'accès aux énergies renouvelables au niveau des milieux ruraux. Et essentiellement, ces derniers temps, le gouvernement au niveau central fait des efforts pour rapprocher l'énergie des populations, aussi bien en milieu urbain que rural. Pour ce qui concerne les milieux ruraux, il y a un important projet qu'on appelle le projet CISO, qui a considérablement
Je vous
accru.
demande, s'il vous plaît, Monsieur le maire, de me donner quelques secondes pour faire la traduction. Donnez-moi juste 30 secondes.
Oui.
So, Mr. Nukame, was explaining that in the municipality of Oti in Togo, they know very well how energy access is a must-have condition, not only for development, for sustainable development of the population, but it's a basic condition for the growth of their local economies. And basically, the citizens in Oti have access to a mix of the national grid, electricity via the national grid, and then off-grid decentralized installation. And he was about to tell us about a specific project. So, Monsieur le maire, s'il vous plaît, brièvement, racontez-nous ces cas particuliers.
Alors, pour ce qui concerne l'accès des populations rurales aux énergies renouvelables, je disais tantôt qu'il y a un vaste projet d'accès des populations aux énergies renouvelables, et notamment le projet CISO. Et donc, en dehors de ça, les communes, et notamment notre commune, a le mandat de prendre le relais pour la promotion des énergies renouvelables. Mais la difficulté majeure réside dans le moyen financier pour faire l'extension. Parce qu'il faut acquérir ce matériel, il faut l'installer, il faut l'expertise nécessaire pour faire les installations et donc promouvoir l'accès aux énergies renouvelables. Mais sinon, aux énergies renouvelables comme les panneaux solaires est une condition nécessaire et une option avantageuse parce que nous avions ici le soleil en abondance presque toute l'année. Et donc, c'est une option avantageuse. Mais le problème se situe au niveau du manque des moyens financiers pour pouvoir faire la promotion de cette énergie à grande échelle. Voilà donc ce que je peux dire en ce qui concerne les énergies renouvelables. Sinon, fondamentalement, c'est une option très avantageuse pour notre localité. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. And just seulement pour qu'on se fasse une idée, vous parlez des solaires photovoltaïques, un projet pilote pour combien d'habitants et à combien vous voudriez étendre ces projets? Et de combien d'argent on parle? Très brièvement, Monsieur le maire.
Bon, pour ce qui concerne notre commune, nous avions trois cantons. Nous avions un canton, le canton de Mango, le canton de Sadoré, le canton de Faré, et qui comporte également des villages. Et donc, nous avions à cœur de faire la promotion de ces énergies renouvelables dans chaque ménage, dans chaque foyer. Et c'est à l'échelle communale que nous sommes en train d'envisager l'extension de l'énergie renouvelable, notamment l'accès à la lumière pour s'éclairer au quotidien et pour faire la promotion des activités commerciales, les activités économiques. C'est fondé sur l'existence de l'énergie. Voilà donc ce que je peux dire en ce qui concerne notre cas particulier. Je vous remercie.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le maire. Merci beaucoup de votre participation. So, the mayor was just explaining that they have implemented a pilot program in 3 villages and they want to extend it to 2 more. It's called CISO, that's the name, but they are missing finance so that they can scale up to more households and also to local businesses. This is key for the economic growth, therefore the development of the economy, the local economy in the municipality of Oti in Togo. Now we're going to move on. And I would like now to touch a little bit more on the solution side with Felix. Felix, we heard a lot about finance, this being probably the major obstacle, of course, multi-level governance, capacity building, digitalization, but from your experience, what are solutions that are now working in Africa and specifically in Kenya? If you could give us some examples that could be enlightening, inspiring for the participants. Felix, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My camera is a little bit abnormal. Hope you can get me because I'm on the road.
We can't hear you very well. Maybe can you speak closer to your microphone, Felix?
Yes, I'm saying I'm on the road. But then the biggest issue with the finance and how solving it is basically the issue of now decentralization, where budgets are being made at national level, but then it's done in collaboration with cities, so countries are able to communicate and send their news, the county energy plans from all the countries, the 47. These energy plans involve and have the solutions countries are looking at to implement in all the counties, being Kisumu. So it informs how funding is dedicated to the country or county needs. Donation funding is now we are able to do foreign direct investment in terms of countries there. So countries can directly negotiate and agree agreements with the stakeholders and funders.
Felix, we have difficulties. Felix, we have difficulties in hearing you clearly enough. So I am afraid we need to very briefly move to Manuel to close. But Felix, I thank you very much for your intervention and for all the comprehensive answer that you gave at the beginning. Now we are going to close with a quick question to Mayor de Araujo. And I would like to kindly ask him for one example, one inspiring example. You gave us a big photo of what should happen now. One example that things are working specifically in one positive way in your municipality. Give us one example of renewable energy that it is working. In 1 minute, please. Okay, maybe Mayor de Araujo it cannot hear us now, so I'm going very quickly to...
He's just unmuted. I think he is trying to speak.
Okay. So in the meantime, let me give the floor to Mayor Phukuntsi, who spoke at the beginning, and we would like to hear from her a specific example of a project that it's working, giving and giving results. Please, Mayor Phukuntsi, if you can tell us. Okay, I can't see Mayor Phukuntsi and Mayor de Araujo either. I think they may have issues in opening their mics or with connectivity. Okay, so maybe I won't now, because we are moving close to the end. Ask the audience if you have one burning question that we can answer, and of course all the technical questions that you may have, and connecting with the mayors or with Felix from Kenya, you can address to the Secretariat, to GCoM, or to REN21, and we will answer them offline. And now I want to give, I don't see any hands up, so I'm going to briefly give the floor to Meagen, because Meagen is going to, Meagen Swain from GCoM sub-Saharan Africa. She's going to walk us through some next steps. Meagen, please.
Great. Thank you so much, Mariana. So I just wanted to notify all those on the call that the next steps are to report your climate data to the CDP Ickle track. It is now open for reporting, and we strongly encourage all of our African cities to report their energy data so that we have a better understanding about what is taking place at the local level and what kind of actions you are implementing. So reporting is more than a data exercise. It's a way to help us measure progress, to demonstrate city achievements, to identify gaps and strengthen the evidence base needed to access technical assistance and climate finance. So if your city hasn't started reporting yet, now is the perfect time to do so. And to support you when you do endeavour to report to the CDP ICLEI track, the technical help desk is available to provide reporting assistance, especially when cities are reporting on the energy access and poverty pillar. So why should you report? I will be posting a link in the chat to our briefing notes on the importance of reporting, but it's a way to benchmark your city's progress, to track energy and climate actions, to strengthen your visibility and readiness for climate finance, to strengthen planning and decision-making, as well as to demonstrate your commitment through the Global Covenant of Mayors framework as part of the COMSA Secretariat. And then we have an upcoming webinar specifically around climate reporting made practical, guidance for COMSA signatories to report to the CDP ICLEI track. So this will be taking place on the 4th of August, and the registration link has been shared in our previous COMSA mailer, so you can contact the technical help desk for more information around that webinar. And I just wanted to finally say that COMSA supports local governments in developing robust evidence-based climate and energy plans, and helps to turn these plans into concrete bankable projects. And COMSA is co-implemented by GIZ, AFD, Expertise France, and ACID. And the COMSA Secretariat is hosted by ICLEI Africa. And we wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody who's participated this afternoon. The session has been recorded and will be uploaded to the COMSA YouTube page, and everyone's contact details will be shared in the chat as well. So over to you, Mariana, for last remarks.
Thank you very much, Meagen. Thank you, Idan, both of you, the hardcore machine behind organizing these webinars. You can, of course, contact them and contact REN21. The information is there for further information. And I want to thank very warmly Mayor Phukuntsi. I want to thank Dr. Bekele, Felix Akello, Mayor de Araujo, and Mayor Nimani Nukome from Otitogo for joining us and telling us about not, of course, the obstacles, but the solutions and the enablers that they are finding, that they are also claiming for, to move their municipality towards the renewable-based economy future that we are striving for. Thank you, everybody, for watching us, and see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Goodbye.